I have with me Andrew Latham. Andrew, what do you make of these fresh set of tariff threats that have been issued by US President Donald Trump? Is he going to make good on them, or is there going to be back and forth that will happen, as we have seen in the other tariff threats, this tariff war that he has waged against countries all across the globe? Is there weight to the tariff threat on the copper and the pharmaceuticals that he has announced just yesterday?
You know, with President Trump, on any given minute of any given hour, on any given day, there's one of three logics to these tariffs, and they are all mutually incompatible. Sometimes he sees them as revenue streams, plain and simple. Sometimes he sees them as bargaining chips to get the best possible bilateral trade deal. And sometimes he actually thinks, I think in his own kind of twisted way, he thinks that he's going to onshore all of this, in this case with India, pharmaceutical manufacturing. Those three things are very different. If you in fact use them as leverage, you do away with the revenue stream part of things. And you can see how these three things do not fit together, not in any logical sense. And we're not dealing with logic here. The second thing I would say that's relevant here is with respect to BRICS. BRICS is, in the minds of Beijing and Moscow, it's the DNA of an alternative world order, world political economic order, as the American rules-based international order fragments, fractures, and begins to fall apart. And that's been going on pre-Trump, but Trump has certainly put his foot to the accelerator on this. But there's no internal coherence to the BRICS. Delhi and Beijing are not on the same page. They're simply not. They're not in favor. India is not in favor of de-dollarization. Yeah. India is in favor of getting the best possible deal it can within the remnants of the rules-based international order, which until 5 minutes ago was called the liberal international order. Founded in 1945, globalized in 1991. India has benefited from it. So there's that. And then in terms of a bilateral deal between India and the United States, I think the ambassador is correct, although I would add a geopolitical dimension to that. It's not just money. Trump and his fellow travelers want to wean India off dependence on the Russians and their military equipment and spare parts and all the rest of it. They want India squarely in the American camp. Economically, that's going to be a bit challenging, but geopolitically, that's a no-brainer.
Of course.
Complicated only by this one concept, which I'll put on the table, and then I'll be quiet. Multi-alignment. We're now not in a unipolar world or a bipolar world. We're in a multipolar world, and within that multipolar world, there's this thing called multi-alignment. Countries are sometimes on Team USA. That same country can sometimes be on Team PRC and sometimes be on Team Russia. It depends on the issue. We're no longer in an era of blocks, fixed blocks. We're in an era of multi-alignment, and that complicates the picture just a little bit.
Okay, yeah.